As one of oval racing's forbidden fruits, the Kentucky Speedway seldom has the opportunity to thrive on a grand scale. Tonight, of course, with the Integrity Ignite series taking to the track, there's an opportunity for just that to change. Welcome back to Kentucky for the second time in Ignite series history. We saw it last year as part of the huge championship run Alec Daffin had as he went on a dominant streak. And, of course, an opportunity this time around for Kentucky to be at the beginning of the schedule. You're watching the Integrity Ignite series live on FTN, and this is the Rock Rib 210. 140 laps of racing coming out to 210 miles, and the excitement in Kentucky returns, this time in the spring. Welcome back live on FTN. I'll be hosting all of tonight's action. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and as it stands, 3 minutes remain on the qualifying charts, and it's going to be Nick Tarbuck at the top of the board with a 30.272. Let's go down to the track and see exactly what's going on here. The Spotify number 12 of Vinny Tigner going to be inside the top 5, and right now Blake Gordon going to jump up to the top, looking for redemption from Nashville. He's going to be up there in first. Rob Ackley, likewise, quick at Music City. He'll be in fourth. Don Stevenson gets up in there just within the top confines, and right now many drivers still taking those extra laps as they get themselves set up. You'll see rushing down the back straightaway Matthew Thunhorst, who's been Mr. Consistency this season and already a very early championship threat. Although he hasn't been able to break out into the wins column, there's a lot of potential on the table here as he'll drop down to the inside line and try to go from 27th this time through, and he's going to move all the way up to what looks to be the top of the board. Matthew Thunhorst jumps up to the pole from 27th, and that's a 30.232. Fastest time on the board by 26 thousandths of a second. Alan Rawell right now going to be 26th, and Forrest Smith 27th. Braxton DeWeese, Cody Erdman, Trevor Trago, all drivers who are on the track who have not taken laps so far, and right now it's going to be Forrest jumping up to 25th on his final lap. Trevor Trago all the while going to be down on pit road after his first, won't get a second in. Cody Erdman coming through this time by, and since we have the opportunity, let's ride on board with the driver, the number 26, as he's set to take his qualifying times in the middle of the field. Erdman going to jump up to 22nd on that run, so that's going to be the end for Cody. Braxton DeWeese coming down to the back straightaway right now in 29th. He's currently going to be there. Of course, an opportunity to jump up big on this lap, looking 0.6 of a second faster than his previous, so he should be good to make some gains as he comes down on the line. That's DeWeese at the stripe, and he's going to jump up there. That's going to be a time of 30.405, good for 17th. It's a very close field. Every lap taken within 1 second of your pole sitter. Now it stands Braxton and Stephen Wetton, the only drivers taking laps, and Wetton is coming down into this time by. It looks like qualifying has concluded, and as a result, it'll be Matthew Thunhorst at the top of the board in his number 8. So qualifying is over. Time to move on to your 5-minute practice session. Thunhorst is at the top of the board. And qualifying concluded, Barney the Flagman going to wave that checkered and move us on to our next session, and it's time to get into our 5-minute warm-up stint before the racing gets on its way. Once again, a reminder, we're going to have 140 laps of racing coming out to 210 miles, so just a little bit longer than the typical intermediate run that we have. Now, last season at Kentucky, long green flag runs dominated the race until the very end, and that's when we had multiple cautions, and I believe even a green-white checkered Daffin came out on top. However, he will not be able to defend his victory, so we will have a new race winner at the track, and one of 36 candidates will come through with the checkered. It's going to be Matthew Thunhorst at the top of the board with a 30.233, and next to him is going to be Blake Gordon in the second spot, 32.59 for the driver in the 19. Nick Tarbuck is going to be in third inside of row number 2. He's there just about 40 thousandths of a second off your pole sitter, and right beside Tarbuck, it's Ackley in the number 22 for Domination Intimidation Racing. Ackley still looking for his first win of 2024, and he's got a 30.303 there in fourth. Don Stevenson is position number 5 with rookie Vinny Tigner up to 6th after a very impressive run last week. It'll be Gael Brooks then in the 7th spot, and Adam Wood, best qualifying run so far for the 45 in 2024. He's there, and he's going to be there in 8th. Thomas Bressie is 9th, and Brian McFerrin is in 10th. 11th spot, Boomer Logan and Joe Dinsmore going to be 12th. Ryan Potter going to be 13th after some troubles in the previous week, and Stephen Wetton going to be the 14th spot with a 30.391. Alan Dobbs rounds out the top 15, and Sebastian Miller is 16th, with Braxton Dewey 17th, Chad Mikas 18th, and DJ Stagner 19th spot after a very successful week with victories in the Ignite Series and the Highline Racing League respectively. Daytona winner Cody Griffin going to have a 30.444. That's going to put him in 20th, just ahead of Timothy Johnston, and a 28th. Todd Thomas in his number 78, and Cody Erdman runs 23rd beside Neil Froelich, who has himself in 24th. Kyle Cooper is 25th, and John Borst is 26th, with Forrest Smith 27th, Travis McQuistion in 28th, Alan Rawell 29th spot in the number 69 machine, and it's a 30.692, just ahead of Andrew Schaub to conclude the top 30. 31st, Jacob Fife is the first driver not to take a time. Then from there, you're going to see Trevor Trago in 32nd, 33rd in Chuck Sweeting, Brad Patton in 34th, and Jay Heishman in 35th, with Cal Filarski, the 36th and final driver on the board tonight. To register for our event, this is, of course, Kentucky. We're talking about 210 miles of racing, and it's going to be all about the Rock Rib State as we're set to get going in just a few moments. Welcome back to the track here in the middle of Kentucky. DJ Stagner at the top of the board and finds himself there looking for some more success after a very strong week on FTN. Multiple victories and multiple starts, of course, and the last of which coming at Richmond. It was a very tight battle there. DJ getting it done, and now down to the inside, it's going to be Matthew Thunhorst working in pit road, Alan Dobbs running in third, and Brad Patton currently is in fourth. Take a lap on board right now as Gael Brooks' as number 71 goes by, and this time in a side-by-side battle with the 93 McQuistion. And a battle brewing here in the final 30 seconds of our warm-up stint. Looks like 13 drivers, now make it 14, have taken at least one time. And now Gael Brooks going to be 13th of which, Travis McQuistion 14th of which. Well, they don't have the fastest laps. They're definitely putting down a good battle here, getting used to what it's going to be like in the pack all night long. Now Gael Brooks going to be working right up to the middle of the circuit, has the opportunity to go down to the apron, doesn't go that deep, and he's going to stay side by side as the drivers come across the line, this time through. Less than 5 seconds remaining. Practice has concluded. DJ Stagner is going to be the quickest man in our warm-up stint, and as such, time to move on to the main event in the Rock Rib 210. Stagner quickest in this stint. It's going to be Nick Tarbuck, the man to lead the field to green. It's time to move on to that starting grid and find out what it's like as the field gets into formation. drivers line up for the first time tonight. You'll see him right across pit road, and it's going to be the number 29 machine of Nick Tarbuck up in front. Blake Gordon, Matthew Thunhorst right there with them, and as a matter of fact now, Thunhorst the man who gets it at the top of the board. Blake Gordon going to be right there with very soon, and before you know it, we'll have the entire field rolling out of pit road. It's Thunhorst, Blake Gordon, both chasing their first victories this season, and Blake Gordon coming oh so close when it came down to the race at Nashville. It was he and DJ Stagner going through the final two turns into 3. Gordon sends it deep, keeps it high, and ends up at the wall by the time he exits turn 4, and he is eventually able to come home in 4th. Not the podium or, of course, the victory he wanted and expected, but it came down to that last lap turn of events. No contact between he and Stagner, just the wrong place at the wrong time. Tonight, an opportunity to redeem himself. Matthew Thunhorst says that as of recent, it's been all about the luck and the strategy for this 8 team, and he wants to prove that there's a little bit more substance to these runs than what we've seen so far. With that being said, he's been the most consistent driver through the season, podium after podium, and likewise, he's kept that success up in the Octane Series on Tuesday nights. Even though it looks like it's been a lot of success, if the luck runs out, Thunhorst worries won't be able to keep those results going. So for tonight, the big goal, prove that consistency as the race goes on. You don't want to bank on the luck. You want to bring that success to yourself naturally. I think that's the mindset for Matthew Thunhorst. Pace, consistency, and versatility. He's gotten pretty lucky, as he said himself. Maybe now I'm going to find out what it takes to survive and thrive under the pressure, which usually has brought him back up to the top. Got some rookies to look out for. Vinny Tigner going to be in 6th. Very good start for him tonight. Stephen Wetton going to be 14th. Miller, D. Weeks, 16th and 17th respectively. And if you look further back, there's also Todd Thomas looking for a full-time campaign. Cody Erdman in the number 26. So there are rookies all throughout the pack. And tonight, it's going to be the veterans up in front in that front row. Former race winners in the Ignite Series, they know what it takes to get it done. They've seen this track before, but it's an early trip to Kentucky this time around, and the Rock Ridge State will welcome Matthew Thunhorst and the 35 cars who drive right behind as we're set to take the green flag here in Kentucky. Let's go racing. 210 miles of action. Matthew Thunhorst takes the green flag, and we're underway in the Kentucky Speedway. It's going to be a yellow flag immediately, trouble in the back of the field, and we are under caution. Similar to last week in Nashville, it's going to be quick trouble. Forrest Smith, Trevor Trago, and the caution will fly. Let's take a look back immediately and figure out what caused this here. Looks to be a small bit of contact in the back of the pack, and that's what's going to bring all the trouble here. So let's get that rewind and find out what caused it as we look way back here. Number 15 of Forrest Smith going to wiggle, drift it down, and it looks like no other contact there. Trevor Trago going to end up getting out of pit road. So for Trago, he's going to get saved here. He'll stay on the lead lap. Smith drifts down, and I think it was just a lot of confusion on the behalf of both drivers going in at once at very slow speeds. Multi-car incident, it was not. For Smith going to have a little bit of trouble, but we stay green 2 laps in out of 140. Matthew Thunhorst going to be the man that leads the way as it stands 2 laps in out of 140, and it looks like nobody even going to come down to pit road this time through. We'll be right back to make sure our replays are in check. Seem to be a little bit of issues showing you that replay, so we'll make sure it's not a case for the remainder of the broadcast. This brief break under yellow is brought to you by our friends at Throttle Graphics and Designs, and we'll return after the following message.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
And returning now, 3 laps in out of 140, and so far at the front of the field there remains Matthew Thunnels. It's been a very early caution to get us once again pacing. Have a little bit of time to get things going immediately thereafter. We figured out what was going on with the replays. That won't be an issue for the rest of the night. Watching live on FTN, Thunhorst has that race lead. Blake Gordon right there with, and we'll get right back at it here as the number 8 going to lead us through 1 lap to green. That's going to be the signal this time by 35 drivers took to the green flag. Cal Filarski, only one of which that does not appear to be on the circuit at all. So as the drivers come around, 1 to green here, Thunor stays bottom, Blake Gordon stays up top, and it looks like it's still going to be the pace lights on. So we'll figure out what's going on here as drivers come across the start-finish line. See if we get back to it immediately, or if we have even 1 additional lap. Pit road was not all too busy. Keep that in mind. Front runners, of course, going to stay out. We saw Forrest Smith go down and in. There's the number 15 of Smith. John Borst is right now going to be on pit road and making it back out. So that's going to be Borst to look out for. All the while, Jacob Fife looks to be another driver who fell a little further back, but that's from 33rd to 35th. So not much else to worry about for Jacob Fife. He remains. More often than not, of course, you've seen him up front, but tonight, starting in the back of the field and track position, going to be very tricky to work around. 35 drivers on the track right now. Even though that's one of the lower numbers we've seen this season, that's an very challenging amount. Wouldn't say unbelievable. We saw 52 at Daytona and 46 the week after. However, it's still a very, very high number of drivers that are looking to take to the track and get things going for a successful run. Every spot matters more, especially with such high car counts. So to have this track positioned up ahead, what Thunhorst, Gordon, Nick Tarbuck, and Ackley have, it's a very big deal. And only one driver looked to make major moves on that run. Timothy Johnston from 21st up to 18th is tentatively your biggest mover of the night. Stephen Wetton, with the exception of the incidents, is the driver who lost the most from 14th on down to 23rd. And otherwise, it's going to be the majority of the field staying the exact same way as they were. So 1 lap to green this time by your top 10 is the same as it was in qualifying, exactly as it was before we got things going. So let's go at it once again, and this time, hopefully, we'll keep it green. It's going to be Thunhorst, Gordon, Ackley, and of course Nick Tarbuck all together here with Stevenson and Vinny Tigner playing out as the supporting cast. Top 10 concluded with Gael Brooks, Adam Wood, Thomas Bresci, and Brian McFerrin. One extra thing that we're bringing back for the first time this year in FTN, it's going to be Thomas Bresci in-car camera, and the number 24 returning to once again give us the insider look at what it's like inside the car here in the Integrity Ignite series. Take a look at the bottom right of your screen. The VR camera is back. And now you can see all the inside movements for the number 24 JTM Chevrolet. Hopefully, going to be a fun edition for the remainder of the year. Bresci in the bottom right of your screen going to give you a lot more insight to how it's like as a driver, and we'll watch that as the race goes on. Back to the action here live on FTN. It is Matthew Thunnels up in front, and he is set to lead us back to green for your first restart of the day. 6 laps in at a 140. This time by, it's going to be Thunhorst and Gordon at the top of the board. Tarbuck third. Ackley still there in fourth. Getting things going again here in Kentucky. Green flag is due to fly, and that it does. Green flag's out. Thunhorst leads them. We're back on the move for the first time tonight. This time through, Thunder's going to get away with the race lead. Fight for second already going to be fierce, and further on back, the pack is even more intense. Number 19, Blake Gordon going to be up there in the first spot. Nick Tarbuck, of course, going to be right there just behind. As it stands, leader getting away, single file further on out. And then you see double file with Braxton DeWeese, Ryan Potter, DJ Stagner, almost four wide with Dinsmore. Not to mention Miller, Chad Mikas, and Boomer Logan. That could have been even closer than it already was. They keep it straight, but it's going to be a very, very hard-fought battle between these drivers already getting to grips with how close it's going to be. Cody Erdman right there in the mix. Looks like Kyle Cooper going to be there. Todd Thomas, Cody Griffin, and Timothy Johnston all fighting each other side by side. They will go, and it looks like right now Thomas going to lie down to the bottom. Cody Griffin is going to have to give just a bit. Now it's going to be Johnston getting that nice run off the corner, just enough for him to make do and come out to the stripe with the position. Joe Dinsmore looking to the bottom side, maybe an opportunity to make it through on Boomer Logan. Logan's held up top here, and looks like the high side not the quickest here. DJ Stagner, who's held up top, even though he gained big, now maybe going to be looking back a bit more. He got by Alan Dobbs. We'll see whether or not he can get through Brian McFerrin. High side not going to be used all too common for these drivers so far. Up top, Blake Gordon going to take it through the straightaways is all. And now Matthew Thunder's catching him right back up to him as the field once again stretches out further on back. Getting a little bit tighter here for the lead spots, and we'll see if Blake Gordon has what it takes to continue stretching this lead. Maybe it's going to be a little bit more time for him to push aggressively to counteract Matthew Thunder and his company, or if there's going to be someone else who comes through as the race is getting going. You can see a very quick segment here between 7th and 8th. Bressy and Gael Brooks are running times quicker than everyone except their leader, so maybe an opportunity for them to break into the top 5 as the run progresses. Early going, you're going to see a lot of drivers stagnating now. Kentucky, not at all an easy track to pass in, but you got to see if drivers can make those alternate grooves work. That is the trick of the trade right now. Up top, you'll see Cody Griffin and Boomer Logan both getting slotted out more and more. Right up more with Logan, and you'll see the struggle right now for that number 94, hoping to hang on. Logan right now going to be running down the back straightaway, and it looks like another spot taken. He fades back into 23rd from 11th on the day so far. He has dropped 12 spots. Not at all a good start for Logan, but of course a lot of time to get to grips with the track, so not much to worry about in the early going. Speaking of course, our conditions, since that was a very big deal last week, we're looking at partly cloudy skies, and right now the winds are northeast bound at 3 miles an hour. Nothing too crazy in all honesty, and of course the temperature is going to stay mild. Track temp 93 Fahrenheit, so a little bit warmer, but with the cloud cover, not expecting all that sun to soak up for at least the time being, and it should remain partly cloudy all throughout the day. Not going to see all too much of that fog, or of course definitely no precipitation here. Vinny Tigner now going to be running up into 4th as he looks onto the back bumper of Tarbuck and Matthew Thunderst alike. Maybe a chance to get inside the podium. That's 14 laps in. A little more pressure being put on by that number 12, Tigner, looking very good in the past few weeks and starting to execute more and more, showing the speed he's got. Carter Casey not here tonight, however, of course, for both co-owners of Saturday Night Thunder, they've had successful races so far, respectively. Tigner looking to be a bit more of a championship threat in the past few weeks, and maybe an opportunity to continue climbing if he stays at this rate of running well. It's going to be a long, full season format this year in 2024. It's different from the split season format with multiple playoff runs. It's going to be all about that consistency from February to October. So if you want to be in the position Vinny Tigner's in, of course, you got to keep on clawing further and further, making the points deficit back up. One bad race early is going to really stunt you. You just can't afford to have multiple in succession. Rob Ackley right now going to be in 6th. Don Stevenson is just ahead. While these two drivers are close, nothing really in regards to that aggression here. I think so far, a lot of drivers going to be playing very calm, hoping to get through these early laps and not really think much of it. Side by side, Sebastian Miller going to be side by side indeed, not only with Brad Patton, but you can see there Cody Griffin, Chuck Sweeting starting to lay down a bit more of that pressure, and Ryan Potter get a bit of block there on Brad Patton, and they will not be side by side at the line because Patton, of course, going to have to lie back. Potter gets the run into the corner, and now an opportunity to send it deep on Cody Erdman, but nothing really is going to come of it there. Now Brad Patton going to make the move up top as he looks for another position. This is the fight for about 16th, and it looks like Ryan Potter going to lose a spot. Brad Patton has it, and we'll see whether or not he's able to hold on. It looks like he is clear. Another spot taken there by Patton. That's going to move him up into 16th, and the mid-pack debacles continue as now Cody Erdman going to face a little more trouble. Up to the high side, Erdman going to block into corner number 1. So it's going to be now Patton going all the way up top and ripping the high groove. Maybe now an opportunity a little more out of the corner. Racing down the back straightaway, Brad Patton definitely has a run. Can he improve on what he's got? Right now, he will not. He'll sit back, wait a little bit longer, and hope for an opportunity in the coming laps. That's right now, Brad Patton really sitting on the back bumper of Erdman. Cody, all he can do currently is watch. Take a look now as you'll see the number 07 of Brad Patton right behind Erdman. And trying to park it there on the inside line to take away all that momentum. Brad Patton not going to have any of it and still going to run up top, get the speed off the corner, and at the line, it's going to be Patton taking a spot just slightly. That's the move for 15th. He stays right up top. Patton does. Multi-groove racing coming into effect early. And right now, Brad Patton trying to wear in that top side, which most drivers so far have not succeeded with. One driver who's made some moves is Vinny Tigner. He's up to second as it stands, making it by both Matthew Dunhorst and Nick Tarbuck. Up in front, Vinny looking very good to potentially go for the race win here. And of course for Tigner, he runs, of course, in SNT competition, and in previous seasons, they visited Kentucky multiple times. Not a lot of drivers spend their practice hours on Kentucky, but for Vinny Tigner, he's had the opportunity to race against some of the best at this track, specifically with experience against Alec Daffin. Now, Daffin won here last season. Vinny Tigner has a chance to carry that banner for SNT drivers and maybe make it another win. That's, of course, possible. And for Blake Gordon right now, he's going to lead the way, still slightly expanding that lead, but maybe a chance now for Vinny Tigner to set himself up for the rest of this race. Early going, he's there, 22 laps in, still got more than 100 to do it. We'll see how it all plays out in the coming laps. As it stands, Tigner going to remain second. Battle for third is not much a battle right now, but one battle that's brewing is going to be between Stagner, McFerrin, and Braxton DeWeese. Also looks to be in the mix with his own fight ahead. So we're looking at two battles at once here with Gael Brooks and Adam Wood. While DJ Stagner still laying down pressure. He's in 13th and has remained there for the past 15-odd laps. Maybe an opportunity to continue gaining as he was before. Right now, doesn't look to be a guarantee for DJ Stagner. He's going to run currently in 13th, Dobbs 12th, Brian McFerrin 11th. The single-file nature of the racing so early has definitely helped the driver like McFerrin keeping those positions. Even if the driver behind you is quicker, it's going to take a lot to get by. The aerodynamics, a big deal, and dirty air already looking to play a huge factor if you're not blatantly quick. Battling further back in the field, Travis McQuistion here with John Borst and Jacob Fife. Fife going to look to make it further up from his starting spot of 35th on the day. So already going to be up about 6 positions. Looking for numbers 7 and 8 here if you can get through. Boomer Logan, who started just outside the top 10, is just within the top 30. And it looks like his day has gotten from bad to worse with a continued loss of pace lap after lap. Logan going to be far out of the picture up in front. Jacob Fife, he was all out of the picture from the beginning, but now a chance to slowly but surely climb back. So we'll try to keep on doing so. Travis McQuistion right there. Sebastian Miller is side by side with Todd Thomas. And Thomas going to stay up top. Chuck Sweeting stays in between two double file battles. Now Ryan Potter looking to have the advantage on Cody Griffin, and will make a move. That's going to be Potter up into position number 17. From 13th on the grid, Potter has lost spots, but now beginning to regain them once again. All the while, his teammate, DJ Stagner, runs now in 14th after taking a spot. Brad Patton moves up again, and now it's going to be Stagner lying a bit further back and hoping for an opportunity once more. Maybe it's going to come upon him with Brad Patton fighting against Alan Dobbs or Brian McFerrin. No example of a gimme in this series that we can give you. So with that being said, just gotta stay on your toes and continue fighting until the race is all said and done. Pit stop strategy gonna be about halfway into our stint within the next 10 laps, and we'll see drivers perhaps come in by about lap number 70, lap number 75. That should be the window to look out for, the half and half split, if all goes well, especially with that first caution. Should be a little bit easier to make it there to the end, as opposed to if we had no caution to start. So some drivers saving fuel, some of which actually on a different strategy, and of those who are on a different strategy, the highest running is Forrest Smith, 24-lap stint compared to those on 28-lap run, and he's up to 24th already. Smith started this race further on back. He's been able to make up a few more spots, and as such, it's the number 15 of Forrest Smith rolling through. Position number 25 he's currently in. He started in 27th, and now with a little bit more pressure from Timothy Johnston, it's going to be side by side again. Neil Froelich might just make it 3 wide. Doesn't look like he did that time by though, so no worries there. Forrest Smith keeps on going and will come back to the line, this time through, running in 24th. Look up ahead and you'll see Sebastian Miller currently finding himself in 21st, of course, up in front. Let's look at that podium one more time. Leading the way, still going to be Blake Gordon, then Vinny Tigner, and Matthew Thunhorse is there in third. Top 3 rushing through, but so far the advantage is big, and it is with Blake Gordon. Nobody else quite with that number 19 so far, and it looks like his dominance unprecedented previously at Kentucky, save for Alex Staffen. Rather, looks like now Alec might have some competition. Number 19 of Blake Gordon rushes down the back straightaway once again. He's got that lead 30 laps in, nobody else in sight. Adam Wood now going to be running just behind Braxton DeWeese, and it could be a battle here with number 45 looking down low, and it looks like DeWeese going to opt to go into the middle groove. Maybe going to try to take it from different sides as they approach these corners. Overall, Braxton still with that slight advantage is exactly what he needs. Gonna get that wall tap though, that's exactly what he doesn't. And you don't want to make that contact so early, bringing a little bit more damage. Very bad situation to involve yourself in repeatedly, and Adam Wood now might have a little bit more momentum for what has been an overall breakout race for the number 45 of Adam Wood. Haven't seen him full-time competition since early 2023, and when he does come around, always has a little bit of pace to stay up there in the top 15, but so far, I think Adam Wood maybe a little bit more tonight than what we've seen previous, as the number 45 runs currently in 9th. Maybe a chance to move up to 8th if DeWeese has a few more slip-ups, and from there on out, still a land of opportunity, as Thomas Bressy's now going to be running about 0.2 of a second away from that of Rob Ackley, the Exalta number 24. We have an opportunity to ride on board with the virtual reality headset that Bressy is running, so take a look at the bottom right of your screen once again. We'll bring that right up to you. And Thomas Bressy currently holds his own in 7th, starting to chase down Rob Acme. And now you're going to see that perspective from within the cockpit. Definitely a much different look for Bressy. And right now, as he tries to figure all this out, Acme just ahead. He's been about a few tenths of a second quicker every lap, with the exception of the most recent, and the caution will fly once more. Yellow flag is out. We're going to find out just what happened. Looks to be a huge incident. Jacob Fife involved. Forrest Smith going to just barely get through. Further on back in the pack, Neil Froelich going to catch a piece. Yellow flag is out, and here is the instant replay to show you just what caused it. Now it's going to be Neil Froelich seeing Forrest Smith and John Borst making contact. As soon as that happens, Fife and Froelich get the second wave. So multiple layers of contact. Borst is going to be destroyed. Alan Rawell just barely gets by with contact. Neil Froelich is damaged. So is Jacob Fife. All the while, Forrest Smith catches a piece and keeps going as well. It looks like John Borst gets the most damage of all, and the yellow flag is out for the first time tonight. In the Rock Rib 210, we got trouble early, and we are now pacing as we're going to bring ourselves back under green at about the lap 40 marker. You'll see drivers coming down to pit road, and we are looking up in front. Blake Gordon going to take Vinny Tigner and the rest of them down and in. It's your first big pit stop cycle of the day, and now Gordon coming through with the advantage. We'll see whether or not he will leave with it. Making it in this time by the number 19 of Blake Gordon up ahead. He's going to have, of course, the remaining podium. Of course, it's going to be Vinny Tigner, who came in second. Then you see Tarbuck. You see Matthew Thunhorst. The drivers who have been the juggernauts up in front. We'll see whether or not they come out first. As right now, pit road exit camera going to show you nobody's there to attempt to get out there. Cody Erdman going to be remaining on the track, and Vinny Tigner will get up to the race lead as he's going to have the quickest stop over Blake Gordon with Matthew Thunhorst then immediately after. Nick Tarbuck, Don Stevenson, Thomas Bressie, Alan Dobbs, Adam Wood, Braxton Deweese with DJ Stagner finishing off the top 10 from pit road. Cody Erdman, your overall race leader, and it looks like he is going to stay out. Just like that, out and ahead, went down a pit lane, did not go through his pit box, and as such, he's going to have to go into pit road once again if he wants to execute the strategy he was initially looking for. Looks like he might have just missed his pit stall, and that's going to move him up from his 23rd spot in terms of the starting grid up to the lead temporarily. But he'll have to come down and in eventually here, and that he will. Drowning deeper into the field. I think that's going to be the feeling for Cody Erdman, and he's going to come through now to pit road. The Chevy Camaro, number 26, fading way back at once. He's going to get his mandatory service here to keep up with the pack. Caution is out. One lap to green, and for the first time tonight, for the first time this season, Vinny Tigner has the race lead. In that opening green flag stint, Tigner had the ability to make that race pace work out and get up to the second spot without any other assistance. Now a chance to keep the one more spot he was looking for and hopefully retain it as the race progresses. Tigner up in front with his biggest opportunity so far this season, looking for a race victory, of course. Maybe a chance to get through for the very first time. Blake Gordon, who's of course looking for redemption from last week, different circumstance, still hoping for the exact same outcome. Matthew Thunhorst and Nick Tarbuck remain just behind your top two, and even though the top two have switched orders, still the same goal, get by the both of them here. Stevenson, Thomas Bressie, Dobbs, and Deweese with each other. Adam Wood and DJ Stagner conclude a very familiar top 10. Of all the drivers inside the top 10, your biggest mover from 15th on up is Alan Dobbs. He's in 7th, and it's a dead heat with Braxton Deweese 17th to 9th. Same overall gains, different positions to get there, and now it's time to get going once again with Vinny Tigner in the prime position to lead the field back to green. Restart number 2 of the day. Tigner gets the jump. We're back on the move in Kentucky. Tigner going to be able to get that run down the back straightaway. Matthew Thunhorst immediately thereafter follows him. Gap between the both, 17 hundredths of a second. Look for the back, and you're going to see Thomas Bressie now concluding the top 5. Alan Dobbs is now going to be running side by side here with Adam Wood, and it's going to be a much different landscape up in front, even though the top 5 get away all the same. Starting to look at what happens here for a driver who's not up in the most dominant section of the circuit. It's going to be a fight here for Dobbs to keep control. He gets loose and slides it out, keeps it straight, and will save the car again. Very nice job there for Alan Dobbs to keep going. That could have gotten much worse, much quicker. All being said, it looks like now number 77 remains ahead of Gael Brooks and Braxton DeWeese there too. And all that arrow push on the bottom side, giving that draft, is going to assist in keeping the bottom line supreme and keeping the high side very vulnerable. Chuck Sweeting goes up top looking for a pass here on Cody Griffin. And Todd Thomas going to slide in down to the bottom. Maybe a chance for him to make a move or two as it stays right there. Looks low again. Maybe now that number 78 with the opportunity. He will lunge in deep. And Rock Rib 210 gets going once more. We're going to have just over 100 laps to go this time by 101 exactly. Matthew Thunhorse takes the race lead right back there from Vinny Tigner. Looks like Vinny not quick enough there on that jump to get things going. He's going to fade back to third. Now it's going to be the number 8 up in front for the first time tonight, while Blake Gordon makes it by Vinny Tigner, doesn't make it by for the lead, and it's going to be a different landscape once again. This time by, it's going to be the 8 of Thunhorse with the edge, and Blake Gordon now going to have to play catch-up to go down to the bottom side, looking way low at the line. Blake Gordon behind by 21 thousandths. Oh, so close, and yet not enough to lead. Now it's going to be Blake Gordon getting that jump and putting himself ahead. Maybe now an opportunity here with Matthew Thunhorse further on back. Number 8 to lunge in. That he will. Taking it down to the bottom side here. The number 8 looks to the low groove. Maybe a chance to get a run, but that's going to be, of course, all up to what he can do into the first 2 turns to go down the backstretch. Thunhorse losing a bit of time at the line is going to fade back about a 1/10.5 overall. And if there's nothing good coming out of these next few turns, it's almost a lost cause for the time being. Gordon out in front. Further on back, the battles remain aggressive and intense. Todd Thomas going to stay with Chad Micus here, rushing down the back straightaway. You're going to see Micus just ahead now. That number 78. Todd Thomas going to remain there in 16th. Hasn't had a chance to really move all too much up. However, he's 6 spots ahead of where he started in this event. So overall, big gains despite the fact he hasn't seen all too many ever since the initial run. Rob Ackley now going to be there with Ryan Potter. For Ackley, he started in 4th and currently runs in 19th, so certainly not the right spot for him to be in. He's going to hope to get a little bit more out of it. But number 22 has an opportunity to send it deep, get the spot, and keep on lunging. We've seen drivers taking it very deep into these first and third corners respectively, setting themselves up for a wider arc out. Hoping to get that momentum as these races go on and on. Got to be thinking about how you can preserve the tire, keep the speed all at once, maybe staying up high and using a little bit less of that rubber to turn in. That's going to be the assistance that most drivers need, but there's a compromise. If you want speed, you're going to have to work those tires just a bit more, at least for now. So for Rob Ackley, as we'll watch once again and we'll ride on board, you'll see his method of going all the way down to the bottom here, almost getting up to the paint, and slowly but surely getting back up top, taking that line of absolute least resistance here, and he's going to try to find that rhythm, stay right behind the number 7 of McFerrin, and then dive in just about a car length in, a little bit more so than McFerrin, to get the run off the corner slightly quicker. Now Brian going to see a little bit more pressure coming in down his rear view mirror. All the while, the number 7 losing some time. Rob Ackley is gaining, and now the gap between the both of them within about 0.2 of a second as Ackley comes off the corner once more. Not quite the speed like, however, he's made gains and will continue to do so if he can follow the formula here of keeping the laps just about the same time after time, getting all the way down to the paint, then putting the power right back down, puts it on at least a little bit heavier here than that of Brian McFerrin, and that is all the difference. Working down and low this time by the number 22 of Ackley, looks for it once again, can't quite get it, but he's getting inch after inch closer. And now as they come through the start finish line, looking down below to the apron, can't quite finish the move off, but there's really an opportunity to contemplate it more and more now. All the while, your leading battle getting a little bit closer. Matthew Thunhorse and Blake Gordon breaking away, so is Nick Tarbuck, and now Thomas Bresci might be getting up to Vinny Tigner. Tigner. Tigner's been able to drop back a little bit more. He's now in the 4th spot from his qualifying spot in 6th. It's still a gain, but he previously led this one, so not good at all for him to be exactly where he is. However, there's still quite a lot of time. He's made up some spots, still runs within the confines of the podium here, and has a chance to make his way in case of any trouble. It can't be easy right now for Tigner, seeing some struggles for the first time tonight. He looked to be second on natural pace in the previous run, now beginning to wonder maybe where has that gone or what's caused it at all to change. Right on board with Vinny Tigner, you'll see he's losing time to Tarbuck, and Thomas Bressi now, slowly but surely, is moving in. Vinny now running down that back straightaway, has a very good seat for the race-winning battle. It looks like up in front, Matthew Thunhorst and Blake Gordon going to go multiple grooves. Thunhorst can't quite find an opportunity to really make a pass out of it, but you saw him try something. Couldn't quite get anything going from that initial motion. That's actually going to set him back as a result, and you'll see 50 laps in out of 140. A little bit of a drop back there for number 8. Now Brad Patton in that 07, looking at Thomas Bressi. Patton been able to make a few more gains lap after lap. That time through, he was quicker than your leader and every driver ahead of him. And that is, of course, Patton's opportunity to make a pass here on Thomas Bressi. The two of which are close on pace, separated by only a 0.02 of a second. But those thousandths, they begin to add up as the race goes on. And right now for Patton, I think he's starting to see that opportunity slowly but surely becoming a lot more real, and the tangibility even gets doubled because Vinny Tigner, who has been losing speed overall, he's definitely going to have a chance to drop back even further. And while not of his own doing, Tigner now going to have to figure things out as Thomas Bressi goes right up top. Brad Patton now going to be low and at the line. Bressi just barely going to clear that number 07. Once again, Thomas Bressi remains in 5th right now. Brad Patton going to be 6th with DJ Stagner 7th, Adam Wood 8th, and Don Stevenson position number 9. 10th is Braxton DeWeese with Gael Brooks in 11th. 12th spot is going to be Cody Griffin, and Alan Dobbs is 13th. Chuck Sweeting now are going to be 14th with Todd Thomas, rounding out the top 15. Chad Mike is going to be 16th with Brian McFerrin in 17th. Rob Ackley 18th, Ryan Potter 19th, and Timothy Johnston in 20th. That brings us back to our more exciting battles further on at the tail end of the field. Even though these drivers might not be up at the front, they're battling for every spot, knowing each position matters. Side by side up to the high side, Jacob Fife continuing to try and redeem himself from qualifying. Now looking right behind Cody Erdman and giving him that look down the backstretch, trying to find the wiggle room to set himself free. Going to be a lot to intimidate Erdman right now. He's definitely found himself as one of the more stable drivers early in this season, and even though he might not be up in front, he's still going to make that pass a very large challenge. Only 2 drivers have retired so far in this race. It's John Borst and Forrest Smith respectively now. And it looks like for Cody Erdman, he'll get a pass done quick on Jay Haishman, and Jay going to drop back slightly. Now going to put himself in 26th, as is Jacob Fife now looking for the both of these positions. Trevor Trago in number 37 currently finds himself in 28th, and Stephen Wetton from 14th on the board has dropped back to 29th. Up ahead of the field now, Thomas Bressi going to be fighting with Vinny Tigner, and we'll ride on board the bottom right of your screen to show you what's going on inside the cockpit for Thomas Bressi, and see his perspective alongside the main race here. You're looking down low. Thomas Bressi going to make it down to the bottom side. Tigner stays up top, and for Bressi, just going to mind his own business. The slight wiggles of the wheel to get all the speed out of it. And as such, now it's going to be Bressi up into 4th as they come across the line for lap number 56. Fast move there for Bressi, and he's got it. Now, what might be up next is a claw for the podium. Maybe going to charge up there and get inside the top 3. That remains to be seen. As we take a look up in front once again, you'll see Blake Gordon 56 laps in at of 140. We're coming up on a halfway marker, and it's all about the definites right now. It's just about a certainty that drivers will make it to the end of this race on a one-stop strategy no matter what. They've gone through about 22 laps on this run, and it took them about 30 to get on this tire set, so that would split the rest of the race up into about 110 laps. With that being said, that's about 55 each, and that's about 30 more laps for these drivers, so now you might expect to see pit stops around the lap 90 marker as opposed to going in early, which was feasible in the initial stage of this race. Different look all around when it comes to that strategy we continue to mention. And that's exactly why the race is changing, and even though the leaders might still be the same as before, it's all about the developments further on out in the pack. Gael Brooks going to remain on the rear end here of Braxton DeWeese. And Braxton currently going to hold his own, running in 10th from 17th on the board. Biggest mover is Brad Patton from 33rd up to 6th by no small margin. He is the driver who's made up all the spots, and he's going to hope to continue making them up. As currently, right behind Bresci, and of course he's got an opportunity to get by Nick Tarbuck, Matthew Thunhorst if he can keep on going. As it stands though, points leader Nick Tarbuck going to find himself up ahead. Deweese definitely going to have to look for a better night as he's third in the championship standings entering. One thing you got to look out for all these drivers, well, not necessarily all of them, but for 2 of them, it's the bracket battle. Tonight is the bracket finale between Thomas Bresci, who's here in the number 24, and Rob Ackley in the number 22. Right now, the highest finisher is set to claim victory for our first bracket of the season, and it would be number 22 of Rob Ackley, who finds himself out when all is said and done. If he stays in the spot he is, Thomas Bresci in 4th, and Rob Ackley is in 18th. So a huge separation between the both of them right now. Definitely not what Ackley would like to see. However, that is the reality of the matter, and it's definitely going to be tricky to keep on going, trying to recover those spots in a long green flag run becomes even more difficult. At the line, Gordon going to lead him once again, a lap number 61. He's got it up in front. Let's look at some drivers who are still fighting each other for all that they're worth. Ryan Potter and Timothy Johnston with one another as we speak. Joe Dinsmore there too. Dinsmore going to drop down to the inside line, take that 95 all the way deep. There, trying to look low, getting it there on Timothy Johnston, but not getting the run off the corner. That is one of the big symptoms of side-by-side racing for position. If you can't get that run off the corner from the inside line, your momentum is all but done immediately. You really have to claw back for another lap or 2 to get that momentum back, and that's when you lose a lap of time to set yourself up, which can be oh so critical now, as Johnston's going to be eating bad with Potter. That's going to send Ryan Potter all the way up to the top of the track. And Potter not going to be happy about that one. He's going to drive quickly in and get down low. Contact with Johnston, and at this point, they're definitely rubbing feathers side by side again, ruffling each other up. Johnston loses the spot, and it's going to be Potter back into 19th here. Take a look in the back bumper, and you'll see Johnston still charging hard with now some pressure from Joe Dinsmore. Looks like Potter going to be able to make that spot work out for now. I don't think Timothy Johnston's going to give him any slack, though, if he can get back up there very quickly. Look out for these 2 drivers, the number 99 and 28 respectively. Potter has the position. Johnston still wants it, and I think he's getting close enough to maybe go for it soon. As they come through once again, 64 laps in out of 140, and it's going to be Timothy Johnston working through the corner 1 and 2, getting a nice run through the middle to get that good exit. And now we got to watch out. What's the call here for Johnston? Does he decide to drop down low? It looks like he will, and Ryan Potter now going to have to figure out what his next move is. You'll see Travis McQuistion and Joe Dinsmore there as well. As this battle continues to brew, we'll watch out for a few others, notably Vinny Tigner, now going to be side by side there with DJ Stagner, and up in front, now Brad Patton down on the low side. And looking down to the bottom, deeply on Thomas Bressi. Bressi down low. Will he keep himself there for much longer? No, he's going to go up high and end up in the middle of the circuit. As such, side by side is no longer going to be the case as Bressi now blocks Patton. And further on back, you're going to see another battle with Cody Griffin and Todd Thomas. These drivers are right now just ahead of Ryan Potter and Timothy Johnston. It looks like still Potter been holding Johnston at bay, and not much else has come of the fight as Johnston now sees the number 93 McQuiston just ahead. It's going to be Joe Dinsmore dropping down to the bottom. Sebastian Miller also involved in the fight at the same time. Now, as drivers come up to the end of the first half, setting themselves up for what is next, we got about 70-odd more laps to go, and it's going to be a very quick night of racing here when all is said and done. Drivers making their moves quickly throughout the circuit, hoping to finish it all up nicely and keep each other clean. No cautions. We're hoping to see a little bit of damage there with the wall as McQuiston gonna hit that one, and Joe Dinsmore almost aimed up there as well. That could have been much, much worse. Luckily for all drivers, they keep it straight and we keep things moving. Now Miller going to be down there on the bottom side. Looks low on Cody Erdman. Likewise, going to be at the bottom side for Travis McQuiston. And now it's going to be a little bit of running right back up the track. Side by side again, 68 laps in. And we are going to be coming down to 69 next time through. Blake Gordon, he has it up in front. The advantage is his by about 0.4 of a second. Thomas Bressi slowly but surely making gains in that number 24. And you'll see it right now as you ride on board. He's making it there. Nick Tarbuck just a few tenths ahead. Matthew Thunnell, same goes. Maybe a chance here for Bressi is at the line. He was several tenths quicker the previous lap, and he is once again quicker than all those ahead of him, with the exception now of Brad Patton. Patton gonna nicely make his move here on lap number 69. How that lunge deep, he's gonna go through, and now gonna be a little bit more pressure for Bressi as the number 07 is once again back in the fray. A quick move there for Brad Patton. That's going to take him up into fourth. Thomas Bressi decides to go down to the bottom side immediately and counteract that fight that he's been given. He wants to take the spot back, and so he'll go for just that. 70 laps in out of 100, and Thomas Bressi moves right back into fourth. Blake Gordon now set to be the driver that leads us down to the second half of this race, and he hopes to do so here as he's led the majority of this event so far. Gordon, after, of course, being denied the victory last week in a last lap turn of events, he'd love to redeem himself and come back to victory lane. He hasn't done so this year so far, but he comes through and leads us to the second half with 70 laps remaining. As it stands, your top 10 goes as follows. Blake Gordon going to be leading with Matthew Thunnell second. Then from there, you'll see Nick Tarbuck is in third, and Thomas Bressi then in fourth. Going to be Brad Patton fifth, DJ Stagner sixth, Vinny Tigner then in seventh, and Don Stevenson position number 8. Braxton DeWeese is going to be ninth, and Alan Dobbs will round out the top 10 as we'll return after our first message of the night, courtesy of our friends at NextLevelRacing.com for high-quality sim racing performance products meant for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. Visit NextLevelRacing.com for more information, and we'll have you covered. Ever since 2009, Next Level Racing has provided top-notch sim racing equipment, and we hope you join the Next Level Racing family and support the official premier partner of the Integrity Racing League. We'll be right back after the following message. You're watching the Rock Rib 210, exclusively on FTN. the line, Thomas Bresci going to be going side by side for a second. Big moves for the 24 as of late, and now going to make it way down low. He is in the catbird seat with 66 laps to go. Welcome back live on FTN. Great to have the chat room active. Alan Dart Images, Chris DeWeef, and Doug Middendorf. Thank you all for stopping by. And right now, looks like Braxton DeWeef's going to be running in ninth as it stands, just within the confines of the top 10. DJ Stagner has made it up to 5th from 19th. Brad Patton now looking to go from 33rd up to 3rd, and a big move there for Patton as he goes down and in, taking another position away. Thomas Bresci, a little bit of a quieter night. He's gone from 9th up to 2nd, and your race leader right now, Blake Gordon, up in the front of the field. Of course, he's the driver who's had it for the majority of the day. He is your leader here, and currently he finds himself up in front with a total of 65 to go, and a caution. Yellow flag is out. Travis McQuistion is involved, and we are once again pacing. Here's a look at just why that's the case. Yellow flag is out. Let's get an instant replay. 4 wide. Make that 5 wide almost. Miller down low. McQuistion with Griffin. They both end up in the wall, and Travis gets destroyed. Griffin able to avoid Jacob Fife there, but the 93 looks to be done. The motor all but blown entirely. And I think that's the night, as you'll see him putter in. Smoke begins to billow for him, and I think that is it. Travis McQuistion ends up in smoke, and that's going to conclude his night prematurely. As such, we are once again under yellow. Leaders coming around, and Blake Gordon, I think he's going to come back to pit road here. This could be the final pit stop of the night, the way things are looking. If we go all the way green from here, this could be the end of our strategy cycle. That remains to be seen. Gordon coming in with Thomas Bresci. Then from there, you're also going to see Brad Patton and Matthew Thunhorst. They all come through this time by, and now time to figure out what it takes to come out with the race lead. Gordon with the advantage. Bresci right now going to be 2nd. Matthew Thunhorst going to be 3rd. DJ Stagner 4th, and Vinny Tigner 5th after his daring move in the previous pit stop. Maybe he'll go for another opportunity and chase it deep through this cycle. However, he ended up fading back after his very risky call. Although he didn't fall back too much, maybe a chance to repeat the same experiments. Pit road, busy as it can get. Fans going to be packing the virtual grandstands, and right now they're watching the race off pit road. Blake Gordon gets it done over Bresci and Patton. Patton gets the edge over Thomas there at the stripe. It'll be Matthew Thunhorst then in 4th, DJ Stagner 5th, Vinny Tigner 6th, and Don Stevenson in 7th, with Dobbs 8th, Braxton DeWeese in 9th, and Gael Brooks rounding out the top 10. Just like that, Blake Gordon once again going to get out there. Bresci and Patton, it looks like it's going to be Thomas Bresci who gets through just ahead, and we'll watch on board to show you what it looked like one more time. Rather, not on board, but over the drivers as they made their way out, and you can see from this angle, there is a slight advantage. However, it's not anything major here, and you will see it as they come right out the gate. Bresci so close, but the camera angle doesn't show you. He just barely makes it out, and as such, he holds that position as we are going to head right back live. What a run off pit road that was. A margin of just a few thousandths of a second. Now we return, 63 laps to go. It'll be only a total now of about 61 when we go back green for certain. And you'll see now, Stephen Wetton up in front. He's a lap machine set to get right back with the leaders. He's going to be there as it stands, and it's going to be Blake Gordon up at the front of the field as we are going to go green now. Instead of the end of lap number 62, it'll be the end of lap number 61 to go. It's going to be a total of 60 laps remaining. So that being said, it's going to be a real sprint from here on out, especially when we kick this back into overdrive and get the racing going once again, which shouldn't be too far from now. Of course, the final stretch to get this through. 79 laps in out of 140, more than halfway. and there is potential. We've already gotten through the entirety of our strategy for tonight. If that is the case, the question is who's got the speed to maybe take down Blake Gordon. If there's anyone that can do so, I think right now all bets are off, but Thomas Bressi might just be the strongest candidate. He found himself, of course, running in the outer fringe of the top 10 early. He's made his way up inside the top 5, then made his way up inside the podium, and he finds himself in second as he was during that long green flag run. There's potential here, especially with not having to face all the traffic get up to Blake Gordon, and maybe an opportunity to get the late race lead early and run with it. Already a win so far. He got it done at the Circuit of the Americas, so doesn't have to worry about all that, but it's a bit of redemption if he gets it done here in Kentucky, given the fact that of course, Alec Daffin, we're discussing, didn't get that victory at Kentucky. It's very unlikely his championship run would have been anything near the way it was, as he went on a dominant tear with 5 consecutive podiums and 2 wins to end the season. Bressi, who was all of the consistency last year, wasn't able to get either of the season championships and was the bridesmaid in both, the latter of which, the playoff run for Daffin, it started here in Kentucky. Maybe a chance to rebound tonight for Bressi, as he has Blake Gordon down low, Matthew Thunhorse behind, and diagonal from him, you'll see it's Brad Patton from 33rd on up, still inside the top 4. Rolling through for lap number 81. It's going to be a 60-lap dash from this point onward. All about the number 19 of Blake Gordon, as it's been previously. Maybe a chance for the number 19 to extend that advantage and go for it all once again. Bressi remains in second here with Patton third, and you can see right now some big movers further on back. Chuck Sweeting from 32nd up to 11th, and he is a very big mover. DJ Stagner 19th up to 5th. So watch out for the drivers who have continued to make gains. It's not over just yet. Green flags out with 60 laps remaining. Gordon gets the jump as he did before. Big move out, and Bressi going to be forced to play catch up on our 3rd restart of the night. And you can see there, it's going to be Blake Gordon rushing down that back straightaway. Bressi going to be coming through just about a car length back. And further on back, you're also going to see Patton, Thunhorse, Stagner, Vinny, Tigner all coming through double file now. As you see the single file leaders get away, now you're going to see a little bit more of that aggression further on back, side by side. There's Don Stevenson. He's there with Alan Dobbs. Braxton DeWeese going to be in the mix as well. Chuck Sweeting and Rob Ackley all together here. And a little bit of a wiggle there from Don Stevenson, but he'll stay straight and keep things going once again. Going to be a little bit of a wiggle, but not all too much, and the big movements have been largely put to rest. And right now, Deweese going to be in control. Same for Ackley, Stevenson, and all those who run up in front. Hasn't been much trouble in regards to holding the cars at bay tonight. We've only seen a little bit of an issue when it comes to that multi-car contact. And the way these drivers have largely run, once again, sort of counteracts that. Very tricky to make passes here in Kentucky. However, even in the back of the field, they'll have you convinced it's very, very easy to do so and make those runs possible. Now Jacob Fife going to be fighting with Stephen Wetton, and Fife still going to be in the back of the field. Not his night. It appears that's simply the case, as he runs in 26th, 35th. He's gotten up multiple spots. He's gotten up nearly 10, in matter of fact. However, just has not had the speed to stay up there with the leaders. And the troubles there have continued, and that persistent issue has kept him in the further on back portion of the circuit all night long. Outside the top 25, all the while, Braxton DeWeese now going to look right down low on Chuck Sweeting. Sweeting going to take it right about to the back bumper of Braxton, and in a moment's notice, DeWeese gets up in a 10th and holds his own inside the top 10 with Rob Ackley now 9th, Gael Brooks in 8th, Alan Dobbs 7th, and Vinny Tigner in 6th. 56 laps to go, and now we are in the home stretch for certain. Thomas Bressi right now running with Brad Patton, and you'll see these two drivers, the number 24 of Thomas Bressi and Brad Patton, the 07, slowly but surely. You can see the number 24 keeping himself ahead with that defense. That's going to be even more crucial. Looking up top, number 24 going to slightly raise it with the groove, and it looks like for Patton, going to have to mimic it. Brad Patton has been the biggest mover all race long from 33rd on up, and even though he's made these gains consistently, maybe the question is, what can you do to get the most important spots, the two that are ahead of him? It's been a very, very hard charge, of course, with so many spots to gain, but now for Patton, there's room for maybe one more as he'll look down at the bottom side, getting that nice counter-acting run off of the corner, down to the apron. There goes Brad, makes the move, and as such, he'll jump up in a second. Thomas Bressi staying right beside him. They're going to be 2 by 2 as they come off of turn number 2. Blake Gordon within 3/10 as well. Gordon not really escaping them, and even though the two drivers behind distract one another with side-by-side action, maybe now a little bit more of an opportunity for both drivers to get closer to Blake Gordon. They've got the draft pulling each other in more and more. And that time by, Gordon going to lose about 6/100ths of a second. Maybe an anomaly, maybe something to keep an eye out for, as it looks like now Blake Gordon going to see his two closest competitors gaining through 1 and 2 especially, and it could be 3 drivers going for the race lead the way things are looking. Take a look off the back bumper here of Blake Gordon once again, and you'll see he's got double trouble in his rear view. Looks like Thomas Bressi going to have to concede there and give way to Brad Patton. Patton moves up in a second, and now the gap is going to be 17/100ths. Sun no longer shining on the circuit, and now for Blake Gordon, it looks like the opportunity to lead, it is diminishing. Not an opportunity to fend off the corner. They'll be side by side regardless of what Gordon does here. And now to turn 1, Brad Patton with a chance to lunge and leave. He'll go down low. He will clear, and for the first time tonight, Brad Patton out in front from 33rd up to the race lead. The driver who's seen it all from every position. He's made it up to the highest peak of this entire event. Now 50 laps to go. Doesn't mean it's all said and done. By no means is it, because Blake Gordon is still there and Thomas Bressi still as quick as ever could keep them both honest. As long as he stays right with them, of course. That's the big question. Tires beginning to fall off once again. Maybe that's what's going to go down here. 50 laps to go. 13 laps in this stint. We should be able to go all the way on a 63-lap run from this point onward. No guarantees. However, if this race were to have no cautions, I would not expect to see your leaders come down a pit road one more time. I think they're going to be good to go with what they've got and stay that way till the very end, as opposed to coming in for an unnecessary pit stop as the cycle is all but concluded. Chuck Sweeting right now going to be in the mix. He is from 32nd on up to 11th. He stayed in 11th for the past few laps now, and looks like he's firmly placed where he should be. Braxton Weiss going to be running in 10th, and you can see that number 13 right behind the longest string of drivers up in the head of the field. Vinny Tigner going to be there with Matthew Thunhorst, and DJ Stagner now beginning to catch up to Thomas Bressi. Looks like Bressi fading back. Blake Gordon, he has not. Although Gordon gave up that lead, I don't think it's going to be the sign of quitting or a surrender of that race lead. It's only going to be about going back and forth now between the both of them. Front runners are beginning to break away again. Bressi now going to be about 7/10ths back on Blake Gordon, and about a 10th further, there goes DJ Stagner working right down to the bottom side. 48 laps to go. Make it 47 as they come through. DJ might be looking for the podium. Matthew Thunhorst and Vinny Tigner alike. They're going to be right there, 5th and 6th. And you can see now, further on back, another battle brewing. That's going to be in about 20th. Alan Rawell and Joe Dinsmore. It's the fight for the 20th spot right now. It looks like Dinsmore wants it as he lunges down to the bottom side and takes a very deep reach in. Tries to find it, just can't. Alan Rawell going to keep him honest until now, and it looks like that's where Joe Dinsmore pulls away, getting the spot with 47 laps remaining. A nice and easy move. That pulls Dinsmore just up a spot, and now next target will be Timothy Johnston, and maybe McFerrin Ryan Potter on the way immediately after. Right now, looks like we're going to see a three-car battle, fighting for fourth, making four for third, as Thomas Bressy's now going to be reeled in by DJ Stagner. You also see Tigner and Thunhorse coming together side by side. Number 12 of Tigner down at the bottom, Stagner up top, and you can see in the mix, Matthew Thunhorse now going to be the driver who is the caboose of this battle, and now Bressy's got to think about it even more so. Tigner gets by Stagner, that's good for fourth, and now looks like Vinny all of a sudden with a charge of momentum we haven't seen from him since the early going. As it stands, he'll drop deep. Number 12 machine goes way low again, and Bressy gonna face it. He'll keep himself up high as Thomas comes across the corner once again, just enough to clear. Vinny Tigner, once again, oh so close to taking a position. Gotta keep an eye on him here in the dying laps. Looks like there's surely an opportunity for him to make it through and perhaps take another spot away as Thomas Bressi tries to get a run off the corner. Blake Gordon right now going to be in second still, about 0.3 of a second away. He has slowly but surely lost a little bit more time than he anticipated to on Brad Patton, and Brad's starting to pull away with that lead more and more. Not going to be good news for Gordon, but for Patton, exactly what he needed, of course. We've seen him quick before on alternate strategies. Tonight, the strategy, well, didn't quite pan out from the beginning. Starting at 33rd of the drivers who did not take a time, Brad Patton was one of which, and he has still been able to make his way up inside the top 15, inside the top 10, then on to the top 5, and you can see where he is right now, exactly where he'd like to be, and he's looking for what could be his first win of the season if all goes well here as they come across for 42 more laps. Adam Wood going to be there with Don Stevenson. You see number 47 go right down low. And Wood right now running still within the confines of the top dozen. He's 14th as it stands. If he gets by Stevenson, that's going to be good for 13th. And maybe with 42 laps to go, it's going to be another pass for Wood, which keeps the momentum rolling as we're going to be set to come to the triple digits this time by. Quick race overall. With all things being said, Brad Patton leads us to lap number 100. Now Chad Mike is going to be fighting side by side with Don Stevenson here, and you see that number 25 roll through. Stevenson stays right down low, and it looks like for Don Stevenson, a spot to be taken. Kyle Cooper maybe going to put some more pressure as well and try to get by the 47. Don, who started in 5th, now running in 15th. Not a night of gaining for the number 47, and unfortunately one of the drivers who more often than not tonight lost position as they come across the line yet again. Tigner getting up to Thomas Bressi as we now have 40 laps to go. Number 24 is on to watch out here as we're coming down into the final leg of the race. Now with 40 laps to go this time by, let's take a run through your top 10 once more. It's going to be Brad Patton leading the way with Blake Gordon second, Vinny Tigner third, and then Thomas Bressi position number 4. Matthew Zunno is going to be 5th, and Alan Dobbs is in 6th with DJ Stagner 7th, Rob Ack the 8th, Braxton Deweese in 9th, and Chuck Sweeting rounding out in the top 10. Of course, now we got our second message from our friends at Next Level Racing, the official premier partners of the Integrity Racing League. We're bringing all the action to you for 2024 and beyond. Got a lot of great racing throughout the year, and we're still looking at more than 40 events of Integrity Racing throughout 2023. So stay tuned all throughout for FTN's exclusive coverage of both the Ignite and Octane series, brought to you by Next Level Racing for high-quality sim racing performance products used by dedicated sim racers. Next Level Racing, the place to go. Thomas Bressi right now, who's battling, is in a Next Level Racing sim rig, and we'll check on him more after we return from this message. You're watching the Rock Rib 210, and we'll be back following a word from our friends at Next Level Racing. 36 laps remain. The sun once again shining in Kentucky. The Bluegrass State has given us quite a lot of good racing throughout the night. Right now, Thomas Bressi and Vinny Tigner giving the most recent show as they've been fighting each other now side by side for third. For about 5-10 laps now, they're slowly but surely going to be wiggling through. Vinny Tigner with a minor advantage, but not enough for Thomas Bressi to give in. Take a look at the bottom right of your screen, and you'll see the on-board camera from the number 24. It's going to be Thomas Bressy's inside the cockpit perspective, and his virtual reality headset can join with a Next Level Racing sim rig, providing for a very accurate experience as if he is inside the cockpit of the number 24 itself. He's side by side with Vinny Tigner as we speak, and still rushing down the back straight. Well, you'll see in the bottom right of your screen again, slightly tilting his head right toward the windshield net, maybe getting a glimpse there of Vinny, but now going to have to drop down low and keep it all the way down to the apron, side by side again. And there you have it. Thomas Bressi now going to get that lunge in and get the clear for position. And he's now going to have to look once again ahead as opposed to keeping his focuses right behind him. Nice pass there for Thomas Bressi. That's the move to get up into third once more and firmly going to hold himself in the final spot, held in the podium. Look on back and you'll see Chad Mikus right now battling with Adam Wood. And Wood right now going to find himself side by side with no driver. Adam Wood, though, could be the next up candidate for another close battle. We'll see whether or not that ends up being the case as they come across the line once again. 33 laps to go and still counting down. I think right now most drivers definitely settling themselves in. Unlike what we saw last year, where a lot of the cautions came very late in the going, we saw them early, and now we might see more drivers waiting for the very end to get things going again. However, you really can't expect to wait all too long. Coming through this time by, looks like now Don Stevenson with Ryan Potter. Potter down to the inside will be coming down to pit road, so maybe we do see the split stint. And here we have it, down and low. Ryan Potter will make it in. Jacob Fife going to pass by, and the 99 opts to go down to pit road. We will see whether or not this is a scheduled stop for him and many others, or if it's a sign that Potter really doesn't have much left in the tank. Could go either way, but that remains to be seen as Vinny Tigner going to get by Thomas Bressi, and once again, the back and forth battle has another driver with the advantage. Vinny Tigner going to be able to make his way up into third. Thomas Bressi still not too far behind. However, I think as these drivers further their charge against one another, you'll see a driver like Matthew Thunhorst maybe pulling even further. Take a look on board now with the number 8 of Thunhorst, and you'll see how he's slowly but surely gaining on the aforementioned number 24 of Bressi. Thunhorst, who works down the back straightaway now within 0.5 of a second of Thomas Bressi, and the gap still going to be shrinking as we speak. So maybe for Matthew Thunhorst a chance to get by his JTM teammate, the man who started on the pole. He stayed fairly consistent all night long, but not really the pace for a race winning drive as it stands. Really hasn't been able to get much through. Bressi going to be there in 4th, Alan Dobbs is in 6th, and you can see there even Braxton DeWeese coming around. Rob Ackley going to be position number 8, and Stagner then in 9th. 29 laps to go this time by. We're coming down to the home stretch indeed, and now if you haven't made a move, you ought to do so. There goes Rob Ackley. He's down and in, and he's going to come down to pit road here. Ackley, Mikus, then going to be in addition Kyle Cooper. So we are going to see maybe a chance to come through for a lot of drivers. Will we have a full pit cycle, or will those who didn't save up properly be the drivers who go in? Maybe some others who decided to weigh out the risks and go for the reward, they're going to stay out. Maybe a few drivers get away as opposed to the many. Could be the small minority that gets the advantage, and that minority group, while we don't really know who's part of it just yet, they should have the opportunity to come out with the win when all is said and done. Will anyone go for the rest of this race without a pit stop? That's what remains to be seen. Todd Thomas, he'll come down and in this time by, and Todd comes through from about 17th on the field. He'll come through and slowly but surely drop. 27 to go here. Brad Patton out and away by 13 tenths. He has the edge, and maybe right now he's got to look at how to keep it if he has to come down to pit road. Thunnors, DeWeese, Dobbs all chasing each other. Same goes for Sweeting and DJ Stagner. It's a big bundle, and we're still fighting each other as we come now with 25 laps to go. Going to be 25 remaining this time by. DJ Stagner falling back just a bit from where he was previously. He had a chance to stay inside the top 5 while he's still firmly within the top 10. Hasn't been able to get that move in regards to getting the rhythm down consistently, and has fallen back slowly but surely. A slight drop back, and now going to be in 7th overall because 2 drivers just made it down and in. DeWeese and Dobbs go through with 25 to go, and I think it's going to be just about everyone coming in, so don't expect to see drivers staying out for the rest of the night. We are now seeing pit road get busier and busier. 2 more of your front runners, they just made it in right together. Matthew Thunnor is going to work down low. You'll see it's going to be Thomas Bressi in the middle groove, and it's going to be one driver coming down in just ahead of Bressi. That is Blake Gordon. Gordon comes down in, so does Adam Wood, and as they both come in together, it's going to be a big dive for the both of them. Joe Dinsmore going to follow suit, and 3 drivers in a bundle as another batch comes through yet again. Matthew Thunnor is going to be there in 4th, and it's now Thomas Bressi 3 tenths ahead of that number 8. Maybe a chance for Bressi to fend off Thunnor, maybe a chance for Thunnor to get the run and really pull through. Opportunities, and they're now starting to come into fruition for either or, depending, of course, on which way it sways. You can see Bressi right now in that number 24 machine coming across the stripe for 23 laps to go. Next time by, we're going to crank it up with our friends at TrackCams22.com, the leading provider for all iRacing cameras. Once again, TrackCams22.com provides over 100 car and track camera options to make your iRacing broadcast and sim racing photography the best on the platform. Visit TrackCams22.com or Facebook.com/TrackCams, and we will return after we crank it up with 22 laps to go. For Brad Patton, only 16 laps to go. That's the magic number. Make it through 16 more times, and you may as well have the win wrapped up and put right under the Christmas tree. However, it's still March here in Kentucky, and right now, Vinny Tigner has made his way up to second after a hard-fought battle with Thomas Bressi. Matthew Thunhorst also in the mix as well, and this is going to be the fight for who keeps that third spot. The podium shifting up, and Mr. Consistency wants his. You've seen him time and time again looking for the podiums, and he's just about made it every week in a row ever since Daytona, of course, where it's always a chaotic night. Thomas Bressi right now going to be just ahead. We got very much slowed down there by Todd Thomas and the lappers, so maybe now the number 8 can have a chance to lunge right down and in. And we discussed it earlier, the hope that Matthew Thunhorst can break out of what he's considered a lucky streak of podiums and bring back the ability that he knows he has to make those consistent runs where it all relies upon talent rather than the fortune of strategy as the race goes by. So for Thunhorst, he's right there. Maybe a chance to get by Bressi when all is said and done. He is very close. Just has to wait a little bit longer for the final opportunities as we are 127 laps in. As it stands, it's going to be Brad Patton who leads the way as we come across the line, looking to finish the job off with Vinny Tigner in second, the best he's looked all season long, and perhaps a chance to continue what's been a very, very impressive rookie season. Championship hopes maybe not going to be there just yet, but opportunity to continue growing 100%. That's going to be the opportunity in mind for Tigner, keeping up with consistent starts, making up more and more positions in the championship standings. As it stands, he's 19th on the board, and maybe with tonight could jump up inside the top 15 and continue things for maybe a chance to fight for the title. Thomas Bressi came in tonight 1 point under your championship leader as Brad Patton comes down and in, and this will be the most important pit stop of the night. He will come through 50 laps through, and just like that, going to be about a dozen lap dash. It's a splash and go stop. He gets going once again, and Patton back on the way, going to try to recover as much as he possibly can, returning immediately. And the splash and go strategy, that's the call for Brad Patton as he runs right out of pit road, gets to the exit, and he will make it there. As such, he's going to get rolling again. Now going to be Vinny Tigner with the race lead with 11 laps to go. It's going to become maybe an opportunity for Tigner to come home on top. There's an opportunity for just about any driver within the top 5 to change things up, even going back to a guy like Gael Brooks or DJ Stagner. And with now the number 07 of Brad Patton cycling down, he might not be done, but he's definitely going to lose a lot of track position here, which is oh so valuable. He's got newer tires than most. He's going to have a chance to claw back fast, but we'll see whether or not it will be any fast enough. Now Matthew Thunhorst goes right up high on Thomas Bressi at the line. They'll go across the stripe. 10 laps to go. With 10 remaining this time by, let's check out your top 10. It's Vinny Tigner first, Matthew Thunhorst second, Thomas Bressi third, and Gael Brooks in fourth, with Stagner fifth, and Don Stevenson then in sixth. It'll be Sebastian Miller seventh, and Timothy Johnston eighth, as it's Jacob Fife ninth, and Blake Gordon rounding out the top 10. As it stands, we got one final message courtesy of our friends at Next Level Racing we would like to present, so we'll be right back after our final promotional break of the day, courtesy of our friends at Next Level Racing. You're watching the Rock Rib 200 as we come through the final stretch of 9 laps to go. We'll return after the following break. Coming back now, what will be only 7 laps to go. Vinny Tigner out in front, and the question Does Vinny stay on the circuit? If he were to stay for 7 more laps, Vinny Tigner would continue the SNT dominance at Kentucky. A victory here, much like Alec Daffin's last year, keeping the Grand National Series as the premier contenders at this track. And of course, Alec Daffin started his championship run at this circuit in the very final races of the season. For Vinny Tigner, an opportunity to get that lightning in the bottle quickly, get the win out the way, and pull through for what could be the first of many wins here in Integrity. Tigner out in front with now 6 laps to go. Lead over Thunhorst and Bressie. Gael Brooks is just outside the podium, and some battles for positions happening just ahead. Adam Wood going to be side by side now with Kyle Cooper. Cooper going to go up top. It looks like Wood going to go right down low. Adam gets the position, and now it's going to be Kyle who fades just a bit further back. Furthermore, you see Rob Ackley going to be fighting with now Alan Dobbs. Rob is going to go down bottom, much younger tire. He'll be good to make the pass immediately, and as such, it looks like Vinny Tigner comes down and in. So with 5 laps to go, Vinny can't make it. It's now in the hands of Matthew Thunhorst. It's a fuel mileage race for 5 more laps. 7.5 miles, just a bit more than that. That's all that Matthew Thunhorst has to make through. Vinny's going to come down and in. Looks like he's going to get full service, and he's going to drop like a rock after leading laps and potentially coming through with a race victory. Now Thunhorst looking to break through. An opportunity for him to come out with what would be his first victory of the year. Mr. Consistency trying to get up to the points lead. It's a very tight battle between Bressie, Thunhorst, and Nick Tarbuck. Tarbuck came into the night with the points lead. However, that number 29 not going to be up in front tonight. Not the run he was looking for, and he's going to be sent back to about 15th as we speak. Thunhorst, though, he's here, and he now has 3 complete laps to get through if he wants to prove he's got what it takes to finish it all off. Gael Brooks up in his second. Don Stevenson up to third. Thomas Bressie just to finish is beginning to slow down more and more. That lets Seb Miller up in a fourth, and now it's going to be a lot of troubles for Bressie if he can even hold on. Looks like all of a sudden another championship contender facing troubles, and he might just have to wiggle as he's definitely losing fuel. Out of fuel for the number 24. That might be the symptom of course, running it way long in the diagnosis. Out of fuel indeed, as he's going to come through and still stay on the circuit. Going to be puttering around here with 2 laps to go. Thunhorst still out in front, and he might have timed it perfect here. It's going to be about 1.5 laps remaining this time by. The number 8 is still ahead, but now we got to see whether or not there's a chance to stay out or if Gael Brooks can come home with the win at long last. Matthew Thunhorst. 1 lap to go. White flag is out. This race is official. Bressie going several seconds off the pace every lap. He does not want to go down to pit road. All the while, the number 8 machine hoping to bring in a podium off of the pace, off of the consistency, and off of the finesse. This number 8 machine, the entire team, they know they've done it before. They've looked to do it again. And tonight, a fuel mileage race till the very last lap. It's going to fall in the hands of Matthew Thunhorst. Checkered flag waves in the Kentucky Speedway, and Matthew Thunhorst wins the Rock Rib 210. Barely making it across the stripe while other drivers sputter, Matthew Thunhorst easily makes it through and collects the checkered flag over Gael Brooks and Don Stevenson. Thunhorst gets it done, his first win of the year, and the number 8 gets it out the way very early with a win in Kentucky. Cause for celebration. Matthew Thunhorst going to make it down to the start-finish line, and he is set to burn down the house. Thunhorse puts it on the start-finish line, and we'll see whether or not we get that burnout as the number 8 wait it out here, sitting on the track as other drivers come down to pit road. Thunhorst, he's going to take a moment and reflect upon what was as he gets it done, and it looks like he's going to blink it out, go back on the track, and maybe a chance for him to keep on going, but otherwise it looks like the 8 machine all but out of the cockpit entirely. Here's the look at your racing results for tonight's event. Matthew Thunhorst going to win from Gael Brooks in second. Then third going to be Don Stevenson with Sebastian Miller in fourth. Timothy Johnston, position number 5. Then from there, it's going to be 6th spot held by DJ Stagner. Jacob Fife is going to be 7th, with 8th being Blake Gordon, and 9th then Braxton DeWeese. Alan Dobbs is going to conclude the top 10, and 11th is then going to be in Rob Ackley. It's 12th Nick Tarbuck, and Chuck Sweeting 13th, with Chad Mikas in 14th spot, and then Jay Haishman, top 15. Todd Thomas is 16th with Brad Patton, 17th, and Adam Wood then 18th, and Kyle Cooper 19th with Ryan Potter, position number 20. It's going to be 21st then for Boomer Logan, and 22nd for Thomas Bressie, as it's 23rd Joe Dinsmore, Cody Erdman 24th, and Stephen Wetton 1 lap down in 25th. Same goes for Vinny Tigner in 26th, and Andrew Schaub 27th, as it's Alan Rowell then 28th, Trevor Trago 29th, and Brian McFerrin in 30th. Your final drivers, they go as follows. It's going to be Griffin, McQuistion, Froelich, Forrest Smith, John Borst, and Cal Filarski, your 36-car grid. And tonight, Matthew Thunhorst is the man who gets it done. Going to get a word with your race winner momentarily. Stick around for top 3 thoughts, as we'll get an interview from all of your podium sitters tonight. And first off, of course, the race winner who pulls it together and gets it done. And we spoke to him last week, continuing what has been a very, very successful podium streak and pit strategy. It was a game of whether or not you could even make it to the end, Matthew Thunhorst. And tonight, barely making it through, saving the fuel just right, and coming out with victory. How does it feel collecting the checkered flag and winning here in Kentucky?
It feels great, David. It's I had some feelings about the way things were last year, because it was kind of funny how it felt like real life, where I almost had a win at Wilkesboro and things went sideways there last year. And it was funny because it was kind of like a lot like Darrell Waltrip and Bill Francine your time. He's like, "Don't worry, Darrell, you'll get your win." And that's kind of how it was for me, because I talked to one of the admins. They were like, "Don't worry, you got 4, you'll get another one." And then I went winless all last year. So it wasn't an all pace, but I broke out every tool I had in the tool bag to save some fuel. And yeah, I kind of channeled my late great grandfather there, not my great, but my grandfather, who my grandmother always gives crap about, because he'd always get it right there on the empty and be like, "We still got a splash in there," and came across the line. I had 1/10 of a gallon left in the car, so we had just enough to get it done. I saw Guy, I always know he's a good fuel saver, and I saw him creeping, and I was just like, I saved enough there, clutching real hard and everything. And with about 2 to go, I saw Guy was coming too much, and it said 2.7 laps on the good with a clutch, and I was just like, you know what, you got to go for it, because I ain't losing it like this. And it worked out.
Everything works out, staying on the track till the very end. We thought that the 70-70 split, if it went green, would have been possible. Saw some yellow flags early and wondered if anyone could pull it off. We gotta ask, how big of a struggle was it to get to this point when so many others were sputtering and forcing themselves down a pit road?
Yeah, we had done the fuel numbers. We knew we had about 57 just running. And so I think we came out with a caution like 63, 64, and it was just literally shutting the car off and just putting the clutch in and everything you could do to save any little bit of gas. And it's right there from the get-go. I didn't go hard, and it's a struggle, because as a driver, it's like I'm watching Brad, I'm watching Blake just fly off in the distance. We watched Vinny do it, because me and Thomas were saving hard, and I knew he was about 2 laps worse than I was. And it's just a struggle. You're like, man, if Tigner can make it, that's gonna really stink. And then it's like, I don't think he's gonna make it though. And so you're just kind of playing a game of chicken. And it's like I said, I knew Gaia was back there. Don's always good with strategy and saving. So I knew they were back there and doing good. And then it's like, oh, okay, can't back off too much. And it was just getting enough of work done in early, just going fast enough while trying to save as much as possible. And we came out with the best average over that final run, thankfully, and we didn't have to worry about being slow enough that the tire guys got back to us.
Pulling through this first victory of the year, such an important part of what's already a very intense early championship battle. One more race before our first break of the season, and that's going to come in the form of the Twin Ring Motegi. Back to the Oval, which we saw last season was a caution-free race. Overall, not one of the more exciting ones on the track, but very strategy heavy and very track position heavy. Getting a lot of good runs out of this team as of recent. Do you think there's a chance to extend that podium streak?
Well, we were doing good there last season. I was running top 5 until I had the infamous internet incident that caused me to quit the internet provider I had for 5 years and be with the new one. So hopefully the ghost of curses past doesn't come back and I have to try looking for another internet provider. So, hopefully we can just run good up there. I mean, I've somehow been pulling good qualifying runs out of somewhere where I don't know what I got pulled today, and it's just like, okay, I guess. And we're starting up front, we're staying up front out of trouble, and we're just making the most of every opportunity we got when we do it. So, I don't think we'll be the best car there. I don't think we'll have a good shot at the win, but I think we have a good shot to run top 5 if I just keep my head on. And, so like you said, David, just trying to keep the good runs up and see if we can get some points. I mean, the good news is we got that win. We're locked in, so that's no longer stress. Feels really good. So
getting that early victory, a huge deal for this number 18, and finally getting it done here, of course, strategy and very close on the fuel numbers here in Kentucky. If you have any other final thoughts before we head to Japan, make sure to let us know.
yeah, David, just as usual, just thanks to, all the admins and everybody else that was driving out there. We put on a decent race. It was more strategy based, but compared to just the all out nonsense the last week was. But just thanks to all the drivers and, like I said, admins, everybody that makes Integrity and Ignite go on Monday night, and all the sponsors that help fund us, you Ed and everybody behind Fireball Talks for doing good broadcasts and everything. And just as usual, thanks for everybody tuning in. A little bit different flavor race tonight, but hope they enjoyed it nonetheless, because there was a lot of more finesse and the strategy and stuff going on. I mean, you still had fast guys and all that, and everything was still good hard driving. So hope they enjoyed it, and I guess we'll see y'all in Japan. So hopefully I can get a cheap airplane ticket.
Hoping to go international after a first victory, Matthew Thunors keeps up with the good runs, and this time it's a checkered flag. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, David. Oh, yeah.
Well, we got you right back. You had anything else?
Sorry. I was going to say, just enjoy the next interview. I expect Gael's going to be great, so stick around for that.
Well, that we will. Moving on to our second driver, and mentioned previously, Gael Brooks' career best finish. We saw him on the podium last season in Monza, and tonight on the American soil, getting it done for the first time with a second place finish. How's it feeling? Runner-up on the day.
Good, but frustrating. I'm happy about it. I say it's another fuel mileage one. That's how I was able to sneak that podium at Monza's. And yeah, I'm happy about the result. And I mean, I can't say I left too much in the tank, because I think I was talking to Matthew post race. He said he finished with like a tenth of a gallon. I think I had 2/10. So neither of us were going much further. And yeah, I just, at some point it kind of like, I can maybe do this, and close but no cigar. So it stings a little bit, because these are hard, very, very hard to win. And I say selfishly, I'm like, come on, Matthew, you've won these enough. Let one of these little guys like me get one.
It became a pretty tough game to predict up in the broadcast booth of who would stay in, who would stay out. We've seen you do it before, as we mentioned. The fuel strategy seems to be one of your bigger strengths with this field. So what was it like trying to experience that as the race went on, and seeing that more and more we were leaning toward that green flag run, and eventually you had to stay out to succeed?
Yeah, and that's I was looking for like a safe pocket basically to sit into. So the initial, like, I restarted somewhere near the top 10 or around the top 10, and just the pace was so quick that I was like, no, there's no way I can't do it. I'm gonna have to pit. And then at some point I was kind of poking around and looking for an opening, and I found a good slot like right around like 12th to 14th. But yeah, in my head I was like, man, if we get a caution, I'm gonna be so frustrated giving up like 5 spots to pull this off, and then get a yellow. But Yeah, I kind of changed over the run. So initially, once I found that kind of that safe place I could ride, I was clutching it in 1 and 3, and then a little bit later towards the end, I felt like I needed to do a little more. So I actually started shutting the car off completely, and then clicking it back on, and then kind of just what do you call it, roll starting it, almost just leaving in fourth, and then just dropping the clutch and getting rolling again. Yeah, it was a lot of effort. Like I said, you pretty much, I'd say maybe 5-10 laps in, that was it. You were committed to it, like you said. And yeah, I did what I could. Unfortunately, Matthew is a little better than me at it tonight. And as I think it was, trying to remember who got me last time. I think it was Mr. Morton, Justin, at Monza last time too. So yeah, seems like field mileage is my stronger suit, but these guys still find a way to sneak one on me when I try.
As close as it's been for this number 71 team, of course, there's always that one additional position. We're heading overseas again, this time to Japan, of course, with the twin ring Motegi. Maybe there's an opportunity to maybe go for one more spot with some strategy.
That could definitely be a strategy track. Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very unique oval with the way turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I wouldn't quite say like a Darlington, but kind of that concept where you can really hustle it through 1 and 2, but then you got to be really good on the brakes and get it to rotate nicely through 3 and 4. So, it's a really, really fun track, very, very challenging track. It's been a while since I've raced there in the Xfinity cars here, so I'm more familiar with the Indycar, so I'll have some learning to do for sure, and but it's gonna be a lot of fun to see what the challenge is gonna be for us.
And of course, looking forward to see what's next for this 71 team up, matching a career best here and getting it done with the podium. Gael, if you got anything more for us, make sure to let us know here.
Well, I mean, first off, I gotta thank you guys for putting on the awesome broadcast. I would say it's a lot of fun being able to go back and check them out. Like I said, you're always on top of things, and definitely appreciate. I know how much time and effort goes into this, so big thank you for your dedication and time on doing these. So yeah, so big thank you to you. Obviously, the admins they never have an easy job between trying to manage the race and keep things as fair as they can for everybody. Obviously, last week had some of that server issues that they tried to make the best they could, and that was a frustrating one for me because I was one of those ones that got caught out in it. But yeah, it's a big shout out to those guys, and I gotta thank my teammates over at Mixed Apex Racing, Mixed Apex Sim Sport. I'm gonna get it fired right off the bat here. Travis was here tonight. He did not have the look he was looking for, unfortunately, tonight. And missing one of our other teammates, Calvin. He wasn't able to make it on time, being busy being a dad, so can't blame him there. But yeah, and then family. Let's say I don't know if my brother and my dad were watching, but if so, definitely shout out to them. And yeah, as I'll ramble otherwise, and be sure to go find a Taco Town Taco if they actually exist.
And there we have it. Second place on the day in a strategy call that ends up working out quite well for this crew. Gael Brooks, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Brooks on the way. One more driver who pulls through and we haven't spoken to in a while here. It's Don Stevenson. And it's a top 3 for the number 47 crew, pulling it together for the first time in 2024 in the top 3. Strategy call was a risk for everyone up in front, but you made some waves at the very end here from 5th to 3rd overall. It's a lot of a more exciting race than what the numbers will say, making it up 2 spots, but there's a lot in between. 3rd place here, and how you feeling?
I feel pretty good. I mean, yeah, the race just came down to, big, strategy call there. I mean, we had the caution with about 60 to go, and I knew the only way you can make it is if you did save right from the beginning of that run. And, so kind of decided right then and there I was going to save right then and there, sacrifice track position at that point, in case it did go all the way. And if it went all the way, we would be in a fairly good spot and or position. And honestly, actually oversaved. Had more than I was over a full lap to the good, and realized that with like 4 or 5 to go. So I mean, I did not need to save as much as I did. And if I would pushed it a little bit harder, maybe could have gotten up to Thunhurst and Gale there. But all in all, happy to get a top 3 and move on to next week.
And of course, the podium, a big deal to bring that momentum in. Kentucky, we saw it play out a little bit differently than it did last season with the front loading those cautions as opposed to getting them all at the very end. So it ended up being a different approach for these drivers, especially in your case in regards to staying out on the track. Now, we asked a question previously to the previous two drivers on the podium, and we got to ask you the same thing. How much was left there in the tank? Because 62 laps, all drivers on the podium went that distance, so it must have been just about nothing by the time you hit the checkered.
Oh, I think I had a full 3 or 4 tenths of a gallon. Like I had a full another lap that I could have gone at speed if I needed to. So I mean, like I said, I oversaved. Because I didn't know exactly. Typically in a fuel run, as you get further into a run, the pace slows down. The amount of fuel you use per lap goes down by itself, whether you're saving or not. And I didn't know how much that was going to go down. So, but I saved too much. I think too early, gave up too much ground there. And, if I didn't save so much at the beginning, I mean, could have, if I would have timed that a little bit better, probably could have been a little bit different story and been in victory lane tonight. But all in all, it was, I'm happy with a third.
And of course, a big day, of course, indeed, with the podium. Now, one thing we have to say, if we move on from Kentucky, and of course, we're going international, it's going to be Twin Ring Motegi, 100 laps. We've seen this track before, and much like Kentucky, it's a track that we saw earlier in the season, this time around compared to last. How's it going to be, of course, taking on the track in Japan once again, and maybe trying to keep the good runs up?
Honestly, Motegi was a lot of fun last year. I mean, I think last year I didn't know what to expect with it because I didn't have too much racing experience there. It's just not a very popular and common track, but I enjoyed the track. The two ends of the track are completely different. Kind of requires a little bit of two different disciplines at both ends of the track. And we had some great racing last year. I'm pretty sure. I think we either went caution free last year or maybe we had a caution. I don't really remember, but I mean, fully expect next week's going to be a good, fun race. Track position will probably be very important, because it is a little bit difficult to pass there if my memory is right. But I mean, I'm looking forward to next week. It should be fun.
And we're hoping to see some more great action. Of course, strategy pulls a long way for the 47 crew tonight. Don Stevenson, podium. And if there's anyone else you'd like to shout out, make sure to let us know.
Yeah, I want to thank my lovely wife that allows me to race every week. All the admins, all the great work they do, the league we have here, great stuff as always. We put on a pretty good race tonight. Our sponsors, Next Level Racing and Pro Powder and Paint, for allowing us to do some of the fun things that we're doing with prize money and the championship awards at the end of the season and stuff. So thank those guys, and thank you for with broadcasting everything. You do a great job every week, and looking forward to racing tomorrow night and next week and the rest of the season.
And can't wait to keep things going. Don Stevenson, you round out the podium today in Kentucky. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Stevenson on the move. We've spoken to all of our top three drivers in tonight's event. Don Stevenson third, Gael Brooks in second, and Matthew Thunors pulling together for his first victory of the season. That's the checkered flag for the number 8 as we say goodbye from the virtual Kentucky Speedway. Not a track we visit all too often, but one of my favorites in terms of how it usually plays out. Not a lot of drivers take the time to learn the track, and tonight, all that little extra experience made the difference for the drivers who aren't rookies. Sebastian Miller ends up the rookie of the race. He's going to finish in 4th as his strategy ends up playing out the best. Vinny Tigner, oh so close among others. But none could hang with the number 8 when all was said and done. We thank you for stopping by and watching our presentation of the Integrity Ignite series live on FTN. You've been watching, of course, Kentucky Speedway, and it's another presentation here for the Rock Rib 210 as we're going to be moving on tomorrow night to the Integrity Octane series. We hope you enjoy that presentation tomorrow night, Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern at the Last Great Coliseum in Bristol Motor Speedway. Thank you all for your immense support watching live on FTN. I've been David Kreutz, your commentator and producer, and we will see you tomorrow night, the Octane Series. We hope you have a fantastic night, And of course, hope you continue supporting the channel live on FTN. We thank you immensely and hope to see you tomorrow night.